And out. I don't know what to make of the Los Angeles Lakers right now. We definitely going to talk about that. But guess what? That pales in comparison to the NCAA tournament. Did you see it? Did you see it, Max? I mean, my Lord, the opening weekend for March Madness. This might be the best one yet. Without Duke, without Kentucky. Damn. All that and more coming up. First 6.5. Let's go.
It's amazing what happens when you get a group of young men who believe. And these guys believed.
The Loyola Chicago Ramblers have upset Illinois.
The Baylor Bears are on to the Sweet 16.
We've already proved so many people wrong, so why not keep going?
Game over. The Razorbacks are headed for the Sweet 16.
I can't even tell you how bad I wanted it. It's just, a will to win.
He looked us in our eyes and told us, this is our game. We got to win.
It's over. It's over. Oral Roberts wins.
So I believe that we could win, and we just came out victorious.
Villanova puts on a clinic. They're off to the Sweet 16.
The Oregon State Beavers turning the Sweet 16 into a double-digit dance party.
Good day. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith. I'm Molly Karam Rose.
What a
and
great
gentlemen,
weekend.
Stephen A., I'm right there with you. It was unreal. I said to myself, am I being prisoner of the moment? Is it because we haven't had the tournament a couple of years? But if we have one more upset, it was like one after the next after the next. It was so much fun. I mean, we got spring back and we got the tournament back, and it feels like some normalcy. By the way, Loyola Chicago, how about that upset? After #1 Illinois, their coach, Coach Moser, will join us in just a moment. Can't wait to talk to him. And of course, Dickie V will be here to break down all the fun, guys. So a wild weekend in sports, upset galore. Max, what do you think's the best story? This is a tough question, but the best story of the tournament thus far?
It is a tough story. And Loyola Chicago, I mean, Illinois being a 1 seed, Illinois, I had them against Gonzaga in the finals. I think a lot of people did. A lot of people were picking them to win the whole thing. That's low-hanging fruit. But I'm actually going to go with Syracuse over West Virginia. And I'll tell you why, because we're talking about story. And when you talk about story, you really need to look at the characters. And these are characters that we know. I mean, Jim Boeheim, Coach Boeheim, was not supposed to be, it's not a 1, but it is a 3 seed. We're talking about an 11-3 here. And what is he really known for? What's Boeheim known for? The 2-3 zone, right? So what are you really saying with that? Well, one way you could look at it is, okay, college kids, when the lights are shining brightest, go ahead, hit threes with the game on the line in the tournament. Let's see you do it. And they couldn't. As often is the case, they couldn't. But also Syracuse couldn't score. And Buddy Boeheim, the coach's son, background is, of course, he's accused of nepotism. His son is taking a spot that belongs to someone else. And he can't throw it in the ocean in the first half. And who goes up to him at halftime and tells him, you just keep shooting? None other than Jerry McNamara himself. And let me tell you something. I loved Carmelo Anthony the year they went all the way.
McNamara was special, though.
He was special.
Yeah, he was. I haven't gotten him.
I loved Carmelo, and I picked them to go all the way when everyone was talking about TJ Ford, because I was like, Carmelo's the best player in the country. His team's going to win. But if they don't have McNamara, they don't win. They don't win without McNamara. And for that dude to go up to the coach's kid with it's nepotism, he doesn't belong there, and he's ice cold. For him to say, you keep shooting, and for Buddy to talk about it after the game. Because then what happens? West Virginia wakes up in the second half, and they start hitting those shots. And it's Buddy Boeheim who keeps them in the game by hitting his shots. The fact that they actually go on to win that game, to me, is the best story of the first round.
I will say this to you, though. I like that choice. I don't mind it at all, but I wouldn't accuse anybody. Nobody would accuse Syracuse of nepotism this year because Buddy Boeheim's the best player on the team.
Sure.
Now, if he was some marginal player or something like that, that would be
not recently, right?
No, he's the best player on the team. He's the man on that team.
That's right.
Okay, and he's showing up. So it's a beautiful, beautiful story. Maybe the best story in the NCAA. I give you that. I can't believe I'm saying this because my brother, Galen Gordon, that used to work here, is now at ABC as a senior vice president. Congratulations to him. Where did he graduate from, Max?
Huge congrats to
Oral Roberts. He graduated from Oral Roberts. And the second that they won, first they beat Ohio State. And I'm looking for the brother because we supposed to go out to dinner. And he's like, what about Oral Roberts? And then last night they beat Florida and he's like this, yo, what about Oral Roberts? So again, Galen Gordon, congratulations. I said Oral Roberts. He said Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts. Say it faster. Oral Roberts. I don't know how to pronounce the damn name. Oral Roberts, okay? In Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe. Look, this brother, what is this, Abino or Obanar or whatever? This brother's averaging 29 points a game. He dropped 28 last night. He was shooting from all over the place. Adams, I mean, he dropped 26. These brothers can play. They can play. They beat Ohio State and they beat Florida. And the second, number 15 seed to reach a Sweet 16. Look, I got to give props where props are due. When we talk about Cinderellas, we got to talk about that because Cinderellas is what you expect of a March Madness. And here's the twist to all of this, Max. In the cold open, I brought up Duke, Kentucky, out of the mix. Usually when we think Cinderella stories, okay, it's going to be somebody that gets to the Final Four or even just the Sweet 16. We're perfectly fine with that, and that's it because the Blue Bloods of college basketball will show up onto the scene, at least one or two of them, and it's going to be a wrap. I'm sorry. We can't assume that this year. COVID-19, the complications it has caused. One game got canceled, and I forgot who it was that gets the advance because there was no game played Saturday or Sunday rather. So I'm looking at it from that perspective, and then I'm thinking about this. I love what I'm seeing from Baylor. They're number 1 seed. I love what I'm seeing from Houston, even survived by the skin of their teeth. They're number 2 seed. Villanova, Jay Wright, and those boys are in the mix and blowing teams out, by the way. Okay, I was very disappointed in what I saw from Georgetown. They couldn't hit the backside of the barn.
Yeah, that was the one where you thought maybe go on a little bit of a run.
I watched that game from start to finish. They got blown out because they couldn't hit shots, and Colorado could hit shots. But Oral Roberts can play. They can hit shots. They're a number 15 seed, and their name alone, you think of religion, okay? You don't think basketball. But Oral Roberts is a number 15 seed, and they're in the Sweet 16. And oh, by the way, they could potentially make some noise. Plays Arkansas on Saturday. They can beat Arkansas. It's going to get interesting.
Chicago probably a little underseeded. They were good, but Illinois. Illinois was beating the brakes off of good teams. By the end of the season. And a lot of people thought, you know what? Everyone's talking about Gonzaga. Illinois is going to go all the way. And so that's a monumental. And I just want to say something. That was the number 1 seed I thought wouldn't beat it. About what Molly, what you had to say. Like you had to ask yourself: is it because this time last year there was no tournament? Is it because we're coming off a year with fewer sports played than ever before and we're just starving for it? Or is it because it's really this good? And of course, the answer is both. Like, it is this good, but it feels even better than it is. It is every bit as good as you think it is, but it feels even better because we've been starving for this. So to get this now is it's a godsend.
I have not seen the opening weekend of March Madness, the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament, this haphazard. And that's what I love about it. And I'm not blaming COVID for that. You got some of these cats that can just ball. I mean, look at that kid from Ohio, Preston, can ball. Look at Oral Roberts and Obanar, he can ball. I'm just watching these brothers here. Buddy Boeheim, that's an NBA player. Just so y'all know, he's got the right size on him and he can hit shots.
6'6".
If you got the right size on you and you can hit perimeter shots, there is a place for you in the NBA. Jim Boeheim's son can play. I'm just telling you.
Under pressure.
I'm just telling you.
Can play under
He
pressure.
can play.
No question, guys. It was so much fun. It's just getting started. So far, we have 4 double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16 and counting. And I just want to say really quickly, I feel awful for VCU. I know they'll come back next year. They'll come back stronger. But that was such a tough break for them. And obviously having to concede with Oregon with the COVID testing and all that thing. And it wasn't the players' fault and all of that. So that was tough to hear that story. Tough break also for the Lakers, fellas. I mean, ADs are in the 3rd spot in the West, but 2.5 games ahead of the 6th spot. Stephen A., which team is under the most pressure to capitalize off LeBron and AD's absence right now and really gain some ground?
I would say the Los Angeles Clippers, but before I get into that, may I take a step back and give props to one of the greatest point guards the game of basketball has ever seen, the CP3, who recorded his 10,000th assist last night. I mean, let's give props where it's due. It was against those Lakers without LeBron. We get all of that, and congratulations to him. One of the great, pure, quintessential point guards the game of basketball has ever seen. Having said all of that, I would answer the question directly by saying that the Los Angeles Clippers are the ones, as far as I'm concerned, who should have the most pressure. I know the Utah Jazz have been playing well, and we can get into the other teams as well, but here's the reality of the situation. There's another team in Los Angeles, a team that has Kawhi Leonard, a two-time NBA champion and a two-time NBA Finals MVP. I don't know how many times I got to harp on this before someone gravitates to what I'm saying. Kawhi Leonard owes us a matchup against LeBron James. You strolled into LA, okay? You sat up there and demanded that the Los Angeles Clippers pay the farm, mortgage the farm, the house, and everything in between, okay, just so you could get Paul George. You got Paul George, who isn't playing shabby, by the way, is an all-star and is playing like an all-star. I know Kawhi Leonard's numbers are there. This is not about his numbers. This is about the willingness, not the ability, because I'm not questioning his ability, the willingness to lead, to galvanize, to maximize the potential surrounding you so you can take this organization to heights it has never seen before. I will remind you, Max Kellerman, as a man that lived in Los Angeles, I believe it was for 6 years. That's
Correct.
what you said, right?
Correct.
You hosted Max. You know,
I was the
Max
voice of Los Angeles.
The voice of Los Angeles, Max and Marcellus, even though John Island was
settle down.
Oh, yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is this.
Guy.
He's a great guy. Max and Marcellus,
Mason
you had
too.
your radio show, Mason too. You had your radio show in LA. The bottom line is this. You know this. The Clippers have never even been to the conference finals. Never even been, let alone NBA finals.
In their history.
In their history. Okay, now guess what? So I have a situation where it's Kawhi with Paul George, okay? You got enough of a crew there. Wait, they'll probably make a move before the trading deadline expires because they need a point guard, which is a discussion we'll have a little bit later on in the show, all right? Because several teams need a point guard, and we understand all of that. But here's the reality. It's on Kawhi Leonard. And if LeBron, I ain't worried about LeBron. LeBron will be back. He'll be ready to go come playoff time. It's probably not as bad as they're saying it is just because they want to give him additional rest because he won't take it on his own because he only missed one game this season up to this point. The bottom line is this. The opportunity is there because remember, I am anticipating, just for the record, I am anticipating, ladies and gentlemen, that there will be fans in attendance come June and July at least 50% capacity. That's what I'm assuming. Considering the news that the president has disseminated in terms of 100 million people getting the vaccine and tens of millions additionally expected to receive the vaccine by June, I believe that combined with NBA players, because we had the Atlanta Hawks, we had the New Orleans Pelicans take their vaccine shots, I think you will see more people.
He said July 4th, independence of the vaccine. June is pretty close.
June is pretty close. I'm not talking 100% capacity.
Yep.
But I'm talking about it's not unreasonable to see 50 to 75% capacity at an NBA arena come playoff time. And so when I'm looking at it from that perspective, again, the Staples Center with Kawhi against LeBron, do you have any idea how many people are looking forward to that? I'm number one on the list. I saw the crown dangling from the mirror with the New Balance commercials. I saw the LA sign up there when you driving in your convertible looking like you from Boys in the Hood. I saw all of that, okay? Now I want the matchup. And LeBron has given me every indication that he will be ready because he was ready. He was waiting in the conference finals last year, Max. He was waiting, and the Clippers didn't show up. Well, guess what? I'm looking for it now. I don't give a damn. Ty Lue can coach, all right? Ty Lue can coach. Paul George can play. Kawhi Leonard is a superstar. His numbers validate that. Where's the matchup? That's what I want to see. That's where the pressure should lie.
Done?
Yes.
Everything you just said is true. There's no lies detected in anything you just said. And yet,
I'm not a liar.
And yet, it's not the whole truth, is it, Stephen A. Smith?
I believe it is.
Because you're not fooling anybody, at least not at this desk.
Okay.
You need Lakers Clippers because you get to go out to LA.
Yeah, that's true.
And the travel is from Staples to Staples.
Well,
You're not going anywhere.
I mean,
you're just spending the whole Western Conference in LA.
That is an angle that I can't deny.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, well, of course not.
That's right.
Who you got caught red-handed? Fingerprints all over.
I will say this little nugget of facts for you. I'm gonna be in LA anyway.
But you don't have to get on a plane.
I'm not gonna be there.
You don't have to,
I'm gonna be there
you don't
anyway.
have to fly to Utah or anything like
That's
that. You
true.
stay right in LA. Now
That is true.
Now,
that is true.
let me just say, it's a perfectly good argument. Lakers Clippers. I used to tease Clippers fans on LA radio. They're gonna hang another first-round banner because they've never been out of the second round, even with Blake and DeAndre and CP3 and now everybody.
Yep.
But hold on, let's slow down. Let's pump the brakes with Kawhi must do this and that. He is a two-time Finals MVP. Not a one-time, a two-time Finals MVP.
Yes.
With two different teams.
Yes.
And Stephen A., you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Okay.
You can lead Paul George to the playoffs, but you can't make him not hit the side of the backboard in a Game 7 in the fourth quarter. Like, Kawhi was magnificent in the playoffs up until Game 7. He had a bad Game 7 against the Nuggets. But he was magnificent until then, as always. Paul George was not, and that's the problem. I can't put this all on Kawhi and then say it's the Clippers. You know who is under the most pressure to capitalize off this?
that?
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Jazz have been the best team in basketball for parts of this year. Jokic.
For parts of this year, yes.
Jokic has a good argument for MVP. He's the best
does.
offensive player in the league. The Suns were 8-0 in the bubble. They added CP3. They look like a threat. The Mavs are rounding into form. The answer is the Portland Trailblazers.
Okay.
The same reason I said Lillard is a real sleeper for MVP the other day. If LeBron doesn't get it, if he's out for an extended period of time, you sat up here on TV, apologized to Damian Lillard. We're not going to ignore it anymore.
He deserves it.
But we also can't ignore the pressure on a guy who sees himself as a champion, who we all smell it on. Like, before he's done, that dude's going to win a chip. Who didn't go ring chasing, who stayed right where he was, who carried his team on his shoulders through injury. No McCollum, the whole thing in the first half. McCollum's back now. He's got time to play himself into real, like, CJ McCollum level shape.
I mean, he's already balling.
And yeah, no
he's
doubt.
already balling. CJ special.
And Nurkic should be back. The point is, what happened when Michael Jordan left the league for a couple of years? What we saw was, here's a parallel universe. Hakeem Olajuwon's the man. If it wasn't Jordan, whose era would be? Hakeem. Jordan was gone 2 years. Hakeem won 2. Jordan came back. That was the end of that. If there's a window right now in the Western Conference, because LeBron is out for an extended period of time, AD maybe isn't the same because of injury, that story, if that plays out, I'm looking at all these different teams, but none more than Damian Lillard and the Portland Trailblazers. This is his time.
I will tell you this. I think it's his time when it comes to, I think this is the best shot Damian Lillard has of capturing league MVP honors. I'll give you that. I definitely think that if he continues to ascend the way that he has been, with LeBron being out, with Kyrie balling, alongside James Harden and Embiid being out, I think this is a perfect opportunity for Damian Lillard to step into the fray and literally claim league MVP honors. I think that's definitely possible. But in terms of the pressure, I don't believe the pressure is on Portland nearly as much as the Clippers. I think that when you consider the fact that they've been injured, yeah, you come back and you look at them. Nurkic don't play defense. I love him offensively, but defensively, it's just not there. CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard, we know that they're an elite backcourt in the game of basketball, but you still wonder about some of the parts surrounding them because there's not enough basketballs, and we're adding Covington, still Carmelo there, etc. My issue with Portland, and I don't want to listen. I'm not advocating nobody be fired or anything like that. I like Terry Stotts as a person. There's something missing. And here's why.
Third star.
Let me tell you what I think about Terry Stotts. I think that he's the kind of guy that knows the X's and O's. There's no question about it. He's going to have his team prepared. But you know something, that element, that ingredient, Max, where you just have the ability as a coach to peel something out of people.
Doc Rivers.
And then, you don't even have to say Doc Rivers. It could be Pop, it could be anybody. At some point in time or another, even though we've seen it from Rick Carlisle, we've seen it from Pop, we've seen it from Doc. Hell, Jeff Van Gundy never won a championship, but we've seen it from him. Stan Van Gundy hasn't won a title, but we've seen it from him. I mean, it's not about the titles. There's just something about Terry Stotts that that's say. It's like, he's good. It's there. But you look at the talent that they got around him, and you just feel like there's something starving for. All right, they need something to peel. You just look at Portland, and you just see something a little extra.
I'll just say,
that ain't coming out.
Wrap it up here, fellas.
All right. I mean, Old Shea has done a very good job up there putting a good team together. They're always about a player short. They've been about a player short.
Again, I know Terry Stotts knows basketball.
So Max says it's Dame time. Stephen A's focused on the claw, but Stephen A, here's the good news.
Yeah.
So you have your vaccine. Utah's a short flight, but you're going to be salty out there in Salt Lake City. That's what I think it's looking like. So much for LA.
Do you know?
We shall see.
Do you know? You Miss Cleo? Do you know? You don't know. You're guessing.
I know.
You're just like the rest of us.
I know.
Okay.
On Dallas,
please.
Goodbye.
She's trying to wish you.
All right. In the NFL, Carson is gone. Hurts is here, and Foles could be back. The guys that Carson Wentz is out. Jalen Hurts is there, and Nick Foles, who led Philly to a Super Bowl, could be back. Here's Jeremy Fowler on that possibility.
I wouldn't take a Nick Foles Philadelphia reunion off the table right now, because a few weeks ago, when Chicago was looking to get Carson Wentz, they included Nick Foles in a potential package to Philadelphia. Now, Wentz ultimately went to Indianapolis, but those talks had been ongoing. They're in place. All they would have to do this week is revive them.
Reunited, and it feels so good, maybe. Stephen A., you spent about 18 years in Philly. Tell me this. Do you think the Eagles should bring back Nick Foles?
No. I think his time has passed. Me personally, I mean, listen, how old is Nick Foles right now? Let me look this up. He's 32 years of age, so you would think that he's got a lot of time, and I understand that. He's been relatively fragile for the most part. He's not a guy that you want to place the franchise on his shoulders. Now, I know what the thinking is. Jalen Hurts is that dude. Nick Foles is there as a security blanket, a backup in the event that Jalen Hurts is not working or he gets hurt. I understand that thinking. But if you're going to move in a different direction, move in a different direction. Last time I checked, we talked about a multitude of problems that the Philadelphia Eagles have had. And you yourself, Max, has alluded to their offensive line troubles and what have you. We know that they're expected to get receivers. They just lost Deshaun Jackson to the Los Angeles Rams. He's a free agent. He went over to the Los Angeles Rams after they released him in February. We just look at Rager right now, and that's pretty much what you have. And so when you look at it from that perspective and you're thinking about the direction that they're going in as a franchise, there's too many question marks. They didn't run the football nearly as much as they should with Sanders and Scott. We understand that. Wide receivers is question mark. Your offensive line, it's a question mark. Your new coach, from a schematic perspective, that's a question mark, even though he came from Indianapolis. So I look at all of these things going on right now with the Philadelphia Eagles. That's not an ideal situation for Nick Foles to walk into. Nick Foles needs to walk into a situation where you're a credible team in a playoff hunt, potentially competing for a championship. You're at least good at all of those requisite positions: running back, wide receiver, offensive line. Things have to be, to some degree, ideal for him. I don't view that to be the case with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think a legitimate argument could be made that they're going to finish in last place next season. Dak is expected to come back with the Cowboys. We love the job that Joe Judge did with the New York Giants, and Saquon Barkley is going to be back, and they just picked up that kid Galladay from Detroit. Now you've got the Washington Redskins. We know their defense is elite. We get all of that. The Washington team. I apologize. The Washington team. And so when we look at it from that perspective, I'm just saying, excuse me, you can literally sit here and make a legitimate argument and the Philadelphia Eagles could end up being in last place because of all the parts around the quarterback. This is not an indictment against Nick Foles. I'm just saying, based on his resume, his history of durability or lack thereof, my attitude is it's not an ideal situation for him to walk into. This is not what it was years ago when you had Carson Wentz as the starter and you had a Super Bowl contender as a roster that you had to work with. That is not what's going on in Philadelphia right now. I don't think that would be a good situation for Nick Foles.
I think it'd probably be a pretty good idea for the Eagles. I mean, you're not going to enter the season with one quarterback. You need a backup quarterback. And if you give the job to Jalen Hurts, that's fine. But why not bring back Nick Foles? Nick Foles' issue with the Bears, I think, period, it's not about the weapons he has. It's about whether or not he's protected. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's not the kind of guy whose talent is going to overcome no offensive line, and the Bears didn't have one, and so he was bad. He's the kind of guy where if you can protect him, he can throw the ball deep, and he can do it under pressure, and he can get teammates to want to play with him and for him. That's the kind of guy. He can also act as a mentor to a young quarterback, because he's not going to start a quarterback controversy. he's not going to release anything to the press the day, that Jalen Hurts has to start about how he wants out of town, the way Carson Wentz did. Let me mention something about Nick Foles, who I've loved since he was at Arizona, right? And everyone was talking about back then, obviously, Andrew Luck and Barkley in the Pac-12 at the time. And I watched Nick Foles carve SC up and thought, wait a minute. And Osweiler, because he was tall at Arizona State, Foles is a sharp, he was really threading the needle. And then he gets to the Eagles, and Stephen A., if you take out his rookie year, his rookie year.
Foles?
Yeah, take out his rookie year with the Eagles. Take out his rookie year with the Eagles.
I thought you were saying period, because I was like, I don't hold against him his time with Jeff Fisher.
No, right.
Right.
Take out his real. That was not in St. Louis. I mean, take out his rookie year with the Eagles. Nick Foles had a season of 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. If you look at his quarterback win-loss record with the Eagles, it's 3-1. It's 24-8 if you take out the rookie year and add the playoffs. Even if you add the rookie year, it's about 2-1, 25-13, I believe it is. I just did the math. Nick Foles wins 3 times as much as he loses since his rookie season with the Eagles, but you have to protect him. When you protect him, he can be an effective quarterback who won't start a quarterback controversy, who will mentor a young guy, and who can catch fire if the young guy goes down at any point or falters and the team is in contention. I understand it for the Eagles.
You can understand it. I don't think you should approve of it because the Eagles are not what they used to be. Let's face reality. When have the Eagles ever appeared to be dysfunctional? I would remind you, Max Kellerman, that at the end of the season, you called for the head coach and the GM, Howie Roseman, to be gone.
And the quarterback.
You know what I'm saying? And the quarterback to be gone. 2 of them you succeeded with. 1 of them stuck around in Howie Roseman. You've had serious questions about leadership coming up from the top as it pertains to Jeffrey Lurie because of what he allowed Carson Wentz to become from a personality perspective. We look at the roster itself. It's questionable. And as a result of that, you're going to invite Nick Foles back into that? I don't think so. Well, I really don't.
I'll say one thing about the Eagles. A lot of problems with the offensive line. And they get Brandon Brooks and Lane Johnson back. Mm-hmm. And if those guys stay healthy and you add 2 offensive linemen like that, they get another offense. Like most of their offensive line should be healthy this year. You add that to the Eagles, that's the whole shooting match for Nick Foles. And I think that they're in. Look, I agree with you. At this moment, you want me to order them in the standings? Eagles last place. Yeah. Probably last place.
Right.
In the NFC East.
Yeah.
That offensive line gets healthy, and they're coming back, and they have Nick Foles, maybe not.
We're going to have more on the NFC East a little later because some other teams made some moves, so we will discuss who's poised to win it all. By the way, you guys owe me because now I lost a bet. We were going to get to Lamar Jackson, too. We're out of time, so now we need to squeeze it in later in the show. The producer said we couldn't do it. I said we did. So buy me some time later. Fair? I need to win. We'll leave it there. When we come back here on First Take, after all the moves over the weekend, who is Illinois yesterday advancing to the Sweet 16? Before the game, their most famous fan, team chaplain Sister Jean, delivered a team prayer that could also have been a stellar game plan. I believe in the power of prayer, y'all. Here it is. As we play the Fighting Illini, we ask for special help to overcome this team and get a great win, she said. We hope to score early, make our opponents nervous. We have a great opportunity to convert rebounds as this team makes about 50% of layups and 30% of its 3 points. Our defense can take care of that. I love this woman. Let's welcome in Loyola Chicago's head coach, Porter Moser, to the show. Now, Coach Moser, quite a prayer, but quite a game plan. I mean, how similar was yours to Sister Jean? She knows her stuff.
No, I know. Sometimes, Sister, we got the game clock starting to run. Her prayers sometimes are like 3 minutes. She's very detail oriented, but she's been part of who we are. And she's always she's really sharp for being her age. And we get an email after every game. And she's a big part of who we are.
Coach Moser, congratulations. Good to see you again. I got to ask this question, though, because obviously prayers are incredibly important, but so is defense. And I think that what's flown under the radar is the fact that you guys got the #1 defense in the nation. Nobody has talked about that. Coming into this game against the Fighting Illini, what were your expectations? What were you looking for? What were you worried most about when it came to this team?
Transition defense. Stephen A., they're elite at going downhill off ball screens and downhill in transition. And so we really wanted to just make a wall in transition And then we really wanted to bottle up their ball screens because, Io is an All-American, but Frazier, Curbelo, they got some phenomenal guards that can go downhill. And that was a big thing of it. And it's interesting you said defense, too, because we've been one of the top defensive teams. And we've kind of parlayed what you guys talk about in the NBA, so the two-way players. Because sometimes in college when you're recruiting, you're saying, oh, defense. Now it's kind of a buzzword. We talk about, hey, be a two-way player. Michael, Kobe, Kawhi, Klay Thompson. Two-way players. And I think that's something we really sold in the recruiting process. And our guys believe in the length and switching of being a two-way player.
Yep, those are the best players in the game.
That's right.
Coach, how valuable is it and what kind of contribution do seniors who have been in a Final Four make to this team? What difference does it make?
It's huge. So we have two players that are only two from that team. So that's pretty cool how we've been able to sustain this. But those two are two big guys. Cameron Krutwig and Lucas Williamson. And here's where it's important. We won the Missouri Valley Championship 2 weeks ago, and we cut down the nets. We celebrated. All the young guys were going crazy because we're going to the NCAA tournament. After about an hour of celebration, we get back to the locker room, and the two old seniors are like, you guys, this is great, but it gets way better from here. We lock in this, it gets way better. And when a coach says that, it's one thing. But when you got players saying that message in the locker room, it carries a lot more weight. And Crut and Lucas are great leaders that were with us on the Final Four run.
Coach Moses, one of the things that I don't want to allow folks to do, I know that this year has been incredibly difficult from the standpoint of COVID-19 and some of the complications that it has caused, and it's ravaged the world of sports. We get that. But what I'm trying to make sure everybody understands, this has been a phenomenal weekend of college basketball. And it's like, I don't think this is happening because of COVID-19. I don't think this is happening because we don't see the blue bloods like Duke or Kentucky in the mix. I think this is happening because I think there's some parity that's really elevating and proliferating in the world of college basketball. Can you speak to that at all, sir?
Yeah, amen, Stephen. I think there's been some great basketball here. And what is also is with the pandemic, a lot of these teams that had freshmen and young guys, I found it with mine. You're about 4 or 5 months behind in development with those guys because you didn't get them. And you're seeing some older veteran teams, some older players that allows the parity, that allows some teams that were older and had some experience that this year there's rising to the top. And I think there's a lot of parity in college basketball right now. But to speak to how awesome this is, I know we're in a bubble and I know we can't have full capacity, but there's still such an energy at the games. I mean, your promo coming in before it was like 20 minutes ago, that was my kids. That was my boys with their arms up. They haven't been to a game all year. Loyola had no games. So just the excitement for the fans here, March Madness, it's been really cool to see the buzz. And for us at Loyola to have an in-state game like that against two ranked teams in our state, a lot of buzz in Chicago, and it's fun for the sport of college basketball.
Coach, you mentioned how Krutwig makes contributions as a senior and to keep the team steady, and as not to mention on the court, by the way. As a coach, how do you now approach your next game? You're in the Sweet 16. You are now the higher seeded team. You're the better seeded team heading into this game, coming off a monster upset against the number one. How do you avoid the kind of, you don't have that same kind of underdog thing going now into the next round?
Same as we always do. We got a process. We got a process of a confident preparation. We have a respectful prep for everybody. We take one game at a time with that. But, we always feel like we're chasing. Whether it's an exhibition game against a Division II team, we just got this mentality we're constantly chasing. And, we played the ACC tournament champs in game 1. We have the Big Ten tournament champs in game 2. Now we got the Pac-10 tournament champs in game 3. So we got 3 Power 5 tournament championships are hot. So we frame it that way. And we're the Missouri Valley Conference champs. So we feel like we're hot. So I just think this mentality in the locker room of always chasing and taking one game at a time. We don't think about underdog or being favored or underdogs. It's just we're chasing what we want. And that's a national championship.
To piggyback off of what Max brought up, I mean, this ain't your first rodeo. You guys was in the Final Four 3 years ago or so. I'm wondering how much does that play? How much do you believe that will help you in the next few days in preparation of what's to come this next weekend or so? The experience that you already have. Can you speak to that?
Yes. And I went to Boston to visit with Brad Stevens after our first Final Four run. And we sat there and talked because I wanted to pick his brain about Butler, like going back a second time. And he said he felt it. It was so hard that season of just the pressure and everything. But once you got in, people recognized the name. They knew you could win. They knew you could advance. They knew you could upset them. And that became a factor, and your guys play more loose. And I felt that. Sometimes when you're in a league where it really comes down to that conference tournament to get that bid, and there's a lot of pressure. And then once you get into the tournament, you got some confidence. You can play loose, shoot loose. And I think that's the way we're at. I think at Loyola, we've been there. We're here again, and I think our guys are loose. I mean, we're respectful confidence.
Yeah, really making a name for the school. And it's a very interesting story about reaching out to Brad Stevens. Let me ask you this, Coach, real hard-hitting question here, but during the game they mentioned everyone's kind of fallen in love with Cameron Krutwig and his personality. Does he really play a mean harmonica, or was that just talk?
No, he plays. He's an old school guy. He's an old school guy. He'll sing, he'll play. He does it all. He's just a wonderful kid. My mentor that I coached with, Rick Majerus, would have loved him because he always wanted to know if the big man. The first question he always asked me, he said, Porter, when he recruited a big man, does he love basketball? Crut loves basketball. The kid's and he loves life, and he's just a fun kid to coach. He's a heck of a player. Doesn't pass the eye test all the time, but I have him on my team anytime. He's a great player.
Yeah, seems like it. Fun to watch. All right, best of luck against Oregon State. Thank you so much for the time, and huge congrats on the major upset to get things started. Sure. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Of course. To the NFL, wait till you hear which team the fellas think is winning the NFC East now. This one's going to be fun. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.
Kawhi Leonard, your guy. The guy that's the best player in the world, Stephen A. That dude, Kawhi Leonard, who led the Clippers. That's right, go hide, Max. Wait a minute, let me put an APB out for Max Kellerman. Where the hell is he? That's what you should have did after they lost Game 7.
Woody, Damien, top of the morning to you. Well, I guess it's kind of almost.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good to see you, sir.
Damien.
Morning. Max, I'm starting with you.
Here we go.
What? What?
No jacket.
What now? What?
No jacket, no tie, no nothing. We just got out of bed and just threw on the shirt. Is that what we do? Is that what we doing? Is that what we doing?
Baby Graham, you see that baby Graham behind me, right? So that lets you know right now what my status is on this show, okay? This is how I'm rolling on First Take today. I'm just going to put up a little small flex on you.
Damien got back into the living room. That's what I'm impressed about. Damien was in like the corner of all the kids pushed him into the corner of the bathroom. He reclaimed the living room. Good for you.
Damien forgot, Molly and Max, Damien forgot this ain't the only show I have. I do have Stephen A's World. Now, I highlighted Damien Woody over a week ago.
Where's the invite?
Don't let me lock in on you again.
Where's the invite?
Don't let me lock in on you again. Molly, I was making fun of his TikTok stuff. Don't let me lock in on you again. I'll make a whole show out of you, bro. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with me.
Do you have a TikTok account or it's your kid's account?
No, I have one. I just haven't posted much on it. I've only got one post, but we got some content coming. Yeah. We got something coming for you.
But it's a quality post.
Damien, you just say no.
Sure.
You say no to stuff.
I don't even know where to go from here. Okay, Max, what are we talking about? Our Giants. All right. So, Max, you and I are both Giants fans. Who should be the favorites in the NFC East right now after all the moves that happened?
This keeps changing. They signed Dak. You go, Dak, and then you got Fitzmagic with a good defense. You go, okay, Washington. The answer right now is the New York Football Giants. They should be the favorites in the East. Right.
Repeat that again.
The New York Football Giants.
Really?
Why are you laughing, Stephen A?
Seriously?
Right.
Seriously, you saying that on public television?
Now, Stephen A. Now, this is a
Stephen A, be professional.
Okay.
How do you say it?
It's fluid. All right, okay.
It's fluid.
Okay, all right. You got me there. It's fluid.
It's a fluid list, but they just signed Galladay. All right, are you?
Danny Dimes, you know what I'm saying?
That's right. By the way, you act like you got to win 12 games to win
I
this
hate
division.
you.
They might go 500.
How are your
in the division.
Steelers? Stunk it up, lost all their good players. Who cares about your Steelers?
This is why, Molly.
Still in the playoffs.
Molly, this is why I'm taking the Giants. First of all, I have to have faith
Not
in
the
my
year
guy,
before.
right? You got to have faith in your quarterback. Daniel Jones flashed as a rookie. Danny Dimes, he looked good. He had no progress as a year 2 player. I was very disappointed. However, he didn't have Saquon Barkley. And the offensive line wasn't great. But they've developed certain pieces on the offensive line that are promising. Andrew Thomas came on in the second half of the year. Will Hernandez is a talented guy. I still think he could be a good pro. Kurt was like, they have hopes for different guys on the line. You can see why. This is not the line from 5 years ago. That's number one. Number two, I just addressed the weakest part of the team. Now let me talk about the rest of the team. The defense was good and getting better. That's a good defense the Giants have. You're not laughing now. Now let's talk about the offense. Saquon comes back. That can't be overstated. Do you know how much that helps Daniel Jones? Saquon's, when he's healthy, the most dynamic back in football. The most. 2,000 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. Can catch, can run, forget it. Is 233 pounds and blazing speed, change of direction, the whole thing. Galladay is a number 1 receiver. When he's healthy, he's a number 1 receiver. Right. And Slayton may be too, we don't know. But he wasn't a bona fide number 1 yet, at least. But now you have that to go with Shepard. Kyle Rudolph's a pro. And you put him with Ingram, who has upside talent. The fact is, when you look at the skills, position groups, the Giants are as talented as anyone in the division. And add that to the defense. Who's more well-rounded right now? Washington, you think they have a better defense? Probably, but are they more well-rounded? Right. Dallas, they don't have a defense. The Eagles are in tatters. The Giants are the answer.
Really? So we just go take up 5 minutes talking about Danny Dimes and the New York Giants.
3 minutes, please.
You mean the quarterback? You mean the quarterback that went on a sprint and had a clear path and had a clear path to touchdown and couldn't stand up straight? You mean that dude that tackled himself? I gotta tell you, it's funny. It's funny. Hey, listen. You mean the latest dude that was given a nickname by Molly that didn't pan out? You mean that guy? Let me tell you something, okay? As long as you got Daniel Jones,
such a hater,
Danny Dimes is your quarterback. I can't see it. Now, I will say this. As I said on many occasions, I'm a fan of Joe Judge. I'm a fan of the job that he's done. They got better every single week. I believe in that guy. I believe in his coaching ability. I don't believe they will stick up the joint. That's why I don't have him in last place. But first, over Dak and the Cowboys with that offense, first, over Washington and that defense, first, with Ron Rivera coaching the Washington football team. It's really interesting how, you and Molly get caught up in the New York Giants. See, this is what y'all do. Y'all set yourself up in disappointment. It's a damn shame. Giants ain't coming no damn first place. And I love Saquon Barkley. He's a stud, no question about it. Giants ain't coming no first place. You can scratch that. Now, I'll admit that they'll compete. They'll be in the mix. We'll be talking about them as the season wanes because they'll be in the hunt. No question. But I can't see them finishing any better than third place. And I think it's a respectable, maybe a game out or something like that. Maybe a 500 team this coming season. But first place with Daniel Jones as your quarterback, I got to see it to believe it. I just do.
Hey, Stephen A.
Yeah, man.
Guess who I'm picking in the NFC East? Just take a guess who I'm picking in the NFC East.
Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys again? Okay, we got.
You didn't learn your lesson after you picked them to win the Super Bowl?
I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'm going back to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East this year. We know Dak Prescott coming back off that injury, and he automatically is the best quarterback in that division. Okay, and we saw all the injuries that the Dallas Cowboys had, particularly on the offensive side of the football, especially up front on the offensive line. Those guys are coming back. They got all the weapons, whether it be the wide receiver group, the Zeke Elliott running back. This offense should be prolific. Now, I know everybody's going to talk about the defense. They were horrible. They stunk it up.
Get worse.
Mike Nolan was trash. Mike Nolan was trash as the defensive coordinator. I don't need the Cowboys to be the 85 Bears on defense. I just need Dan Quinn, the new defensive coordinator, just be average. Be average. Don't go out there and give up 160 yards rushing per game. If you can avoid that, Dallas is going to win this division because guess what? I like some of the moves the Washington football team made, but when it comes to Ryan Fitzpatrick, We don't know what Ryan Fitzpatrick we're going to get. One week he's throwing for 450 yards, and next week he's throwing for 4 interceptions. We don't know what he's going to bring. And as far as the New York Giants, listen, I am a fan of Joe Judge. I think he brings a no-nonsense approach, discipline, all that. But the quarterback, Danny Dimes, come on, man. Come on,
let's see a season. Let's see a season. First of all, they're going to draft another offensive lineman. They're going to have talent on the line. Let's see a season with Saquon Barkley. That was huge. Saquon has an enormous effect. And let me tell you another story about a young Giants quarterback drafted, and it wasn't going so great, coming off not such a great year, without high expectations at that point. And they acquired a premier wideout, Plexico Burress, and happened to win the Super Bowl with Eli Manning under center. And he was the number 1 overall pick. But there were grumblings about Eli. And it's not exactly the same. That was 3 years after he was drafted. But here, a couple years after Danny Dimes was drafted, after a promising rookie year, he went backwards year 2, at least didn't develop. They sign a premier wideout. Galladay, when he's on the field, is a real number 1. That's what that offense was missing.
Max,
and unlike the guys you mentioned, Dallas doesn't have a defense. Washington doesn't have an offense. The Giants have a chance to have both.
Max, here's the problem. You said it yourself. When he's on the field, that's the problem with Kenny Galladay. He misses a lot of time because he's injured. So you're investing all this money into your potential number 1. And he can't get, he's always in the ice tub. That's the problem here, Max. That's why I don't really like that move.
Well, look, they added a lot of pieces. Galladay probably came a little cheaper than he would have been had he been available all the time because he wasn't hurt.
So you got an injury-prone number 1.
Yep.
You got a guy in Saquon Barkley coming off an injury.
Yep.
And we got Danny Dimes, who's been in and out injured-wise. And when he's healthy, he can't hold on to the football. You know what I took the liberty of watching? Yesterday, Max Kellerman. I had a little bit of time on my hand in the morning before the NCAA tournament. I was watching Friday Night Lights. You know what I'm saying? I was watching. And remember the guy? A damn good movie. Damn good movie. It was the movie.
Oh, movie,
right.
Good show, too.
Billy Bob Thornton. They did a great job. But you know something I noticed? You remember that scene? You remember when the father was torturing his son because his son couldn't hold on to the ball?
Yeah.
The first thing I thought about was Danny Dimes.
Yeah, me too.
I thought about Daniel Jones. I thought about his inability. The father just wrapped tape around and put the football in him while he was with his girl. Okay, what I'm saying? And wrapped the tape around him with the football and trying to hold on to the damn ball.
See, Daniel Jones, that was too nice.
That's what had me thinking about Daniel Jones. That's what had me thinking about Daniel Jones. So you got a quarterback who can't hold on to the ball, or a star running back that's coming off a nasty injury, and of course, number 1 wide receiver who's injury prone. Good luck with that.
By the way,
good luck with that.
A lot of teams all teams have question marks. The Giants will be health and Daniel Jones' ability to develop in year 3.
And by the way,
I have faith.
And Damian, I got the Cowboys winning the NFC East too. But guess what? It's right there. It's setting up the fall. It's setting up the fall.
Cowboys coming in third right now.
The fall is coming, Molly. Look for it. You know, it's no fun. I don't want the Dallas Cowboys. Listen, I don't want the Dallas Cowboys to stink up the joint in September or October. I want them to be flourishing right up until the holidays.
Right, thanks.
And then right around the time of the holidays, they start descending. They start plummeting. That's what we want for the Cowboys.
He can't digest his turkey if the Cowboys win on Thanksgiving.
You have such problems.
It's no fun.
Thinking of
Dallas
watching
losing
Friday
early.
Night Lights, thinking about Danny Dimes.
I want Cowboy fans sticking out their chest. Yeah, we go do it.
Molly, who's
and then
going
the
to
holidays come. Bow. That's what I want. I want it like
Who's
that.
Who's going to win the division, Molly?
I'm dead. The New York Football Giants, that's who. Listen, I'm coming off watching UConn couldn't make a shot, looking embarrassing in front of Maryland. I can't deal with all my teams being terrible.
We did tell you that was going to happen before the game.
Have you heard of faith?
We did tell you that, Molly.
Faith, walk by faith, not by sight.
And if it goes sideways, I'll blame Gallup.
We tried to tell you, Molly.
I'm
you
too
wouldn't
loyal for my own good. We got to go to break. Bye, Damien. All right, LeBron is out now, too. Which Western team needs to capitalize on the Lakers not being at full strength? And the Rockets' woes continues. Bigger hit, losing James Harden or Daryl Morey? And wait till you hear the reaction from their head coach, Stephen Silas. The fellas will discuss it all. That's coming up. Alabama, Jasmine Walker getting set first team all SEC. They are taking on North Carolina. Again, that game right after us here on ESPN. Elsewhere, in a heartbreaker against the Thunder on Sunday, the Houston Rockets extended their losing streak, fellas, listen to this, to 20 games under rookie head coach Stephen Silas. In his postgame presser, we saw defeated Stephen struggle to find words for the team's ails.
Hey, Coach. Tough one as the streak kind of continues. Did you feel your team getting, tight at all down the stretch? Do you feel like the weight of these losses is kind of building?
Yeah.
Unreal. He has not been put in a position to succeed, so really fair to judge him. Stephen A., whose exit hit the Rockets harder? Would you say it's Morey or James Harden?
Well, I'm going to say James Harden, of course, because we know how spectacular James Harden could be. And there is no way in hell that the Houston Rockets would be on a 20-game losing streak if James Harden was still in a Rockets uniform. But I'm also going to say it hit incredibly hard because of Harden's departure, because Harden wasn't just your star player, but Harden was the one, because of his greatness, that made everybody better and made everybody interested in playing the game of basketball because they were competitive. And by being competitive, everybody else would not have jumped ship. You look at this right now. Listen, John Wall is averaging 21 and 6. He's not a scrub. But we see there's a difference. There's levels to stardom. And there's an elite level that he's just not on compared to the other guys, even though he can play. We got Victor Oladipo there. The same could be said about him. Let's take into account what Stephen Silas is going through, ladies and gentlemen. This man served as an assistant coach for 20 years in the NBA before finally getting this opportunity. Russell Westbrook, gone. James Harden, gone. Hell, DeMarcus Cousins. Not that he would have made that big of a difference. Gone. Okay? You got that going on. John Wall's coming off his Achilles injury. Victor Oladipo still ain't what he used to be because of his injury from a couple of years back. Christian Wood was out for a while, and even though he's got some talent, he's not that big of a difference maker. He's a good player and a great piece for a good team, but he's insignificant on a bad team. This is what Stephen Silas walked into. Now, forgive me if I offend everybody by reminding folks, I want to emphasize, I think Steve Nash is doing a hell of a job. I think Mike D'Antoni on that bench obviously is doing a hell of a job, because we know anything great that happens on the offensive side of the ball has something to do with Mike D'Antoni, because he's just that brilliant of an offensive mind in the National Basketball Association. But when you look at it, I will remind everybody that Steve Nash, God bless him, great dude, never coached on any level in his career. And the first job he gets is coaching Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving with James Harden on the way. And Stephen Silas waits 20 years and look at what he has to work with. These are the kind of things that black coaches have lamented forever. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, Max. There are black coaches who have gotten head coaching jobs that never had any coaching experience. They ain't never inherit no job like Steve Nash has. That's never been their first job. And it just strikes me as more than coincidental that at this day and age, and right now today, as we're sitting here talking about Stephen Silas, and you juxtapose that position to what Steve Nash is dealing with in Brooklyn. Wow. Wow. It's amazing. And again, it's not Steve Nash's fault. He did nothing wrong. He's doing a hell of a job. It's just a sad, sad state of affairs, what black coaches continue to have to deal with. It really is.
You and I don't see exactly eye to eye on that point. I'm going to answer the question in a second, but I want to respond to what you said. We don't see exactly eye to eye on that point. I mean, it was KD and Kyrie who got Steve Nash.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, right. So,
okay. Oh, I know that. That's what I mean. We do agree, because that's what I'm saying.
That's personal relationships. But I will say this, and you don't need a bodyguard, on this issue or other issues. But I do want to say, you have been on this issue from day one. And if you look at Silas at that press conference, you can see that you obviously have a very good point. He is devastated. He waited 20 years, and now he's looking at 20 consecutive losses. And he must be thinking, like, what's going on? I mean, besides trying to just coach the guys, what's happening to my career as a head coach? I've been set up to fail. Okay. Now let me.
Now they had injuries though. They had injuries.
No question.
Right.
Let me answer the question as to what hit the Rockets harder, Harden or Daryl Morey leaving. I'm going to say Daryl Morey. Now, obviously, if they had James Harden on the team, even if he's trying to play his way out of town, he ain't losing 20 straight games. He can't help himself. He's too excellent. But what I see from the Rockets, and this is not the new GM, Raphael Stone. I'm not casting any aspersions because let's see what happens over time.
Right.
Let's see if he has a plan, and let's see what happens over time. But with Daryl Morey and the Rockets, it wasn't just, they have D'Antoni as coach, or they have Harden as the point guard, or whatever you want to call him. It's that there was a plan. There was a brain, a mind at work at the top of the operation. And so there was always competence. Things were always happening moving in a positive way. When you take Morey out of the equation, it seems rudderless to me. At this moment, again, Stone, the new GM, he got a haul in the trade for James Harden in terms of draft picks at a point where I thought they had very little leverage. So we did a very, very good job there. But in terms of the way the team is functioning right now, they're utterly rudderless. It's one thing to lose James Harden. It's another thing to lose 20 straight games. To me, that seems like a rudderless team. So I'm going to say, and then you see what's going on in Philadelphia, where finally they seem to be getting things right. But I think it's the Daryl Morey effect.
Let's also highlight why this is affecting a lot of black coaches. Because what you look at, even though we understand injuries, the exit of James Harden, Russell Westbrook, that kind of thing, let's understand something here. Stephen Silas, in all likelihood, will never get another head coaching job once this is over. There's going to be but so much patience. I know Fertitta and Rockets management are going to swear up and down. They're going to stand by him. He's going to be there for years to come. And I'm not saying they're lying. What I'm saying to you is that ultimately you end up losing your job. We got a guy like Alvin Gentry. Like, listen, we're both fond of Stan Van Gundy. And I think Stan Van Gundy's a damn good coach who's going to do a damn good job. Alvin Gentry was nothing to sneeze at. He's an assistant in Sacramento. Alvin Gentry is nothing to sneeze at. I don't think he should have lost that job in New Orleans, but he's gone. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I'm just saying that we're going to see black coaches looking at Stephen Silas, and it's like another one bites the dust. Because once this is over, all you're going to have to lean on is his record. And then another owner is going to sit up there and say, well, why should I take the chance on this guy? And that's the problem with it. Because and I'm not saying that Rockets organization set him up to fail, but by virtue of the situation that he is in, okay? And one could argue, KD, Kyrie, you know what? Excuse me, you had a relationship with Nash, fine. You didn't have a relationship with any brothers that you could have interviewed?
It's working out, though. It's working out, Brooklyn.
It's working out. And I actually hate talking about it with Brooklyn because I think Nash is a good dude and he's a damn good coach. And I think his future is bright and it should be bright. I just wish we were able to look at someplace else in the NBA where we saw a black man get that kind of
African-American
opportunity.
coaches don't have to worry about, well, if I don't take this opportunity, maybe I never get another one. But if I do take it, I'm sunk.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, and people say you are your record, but this is an example where numbers do lie, and they don't tell the whole story, and it's completely unfair. All right, we'll leave it on that note, guys. When we come back, I want to get back to the tournament here. Dickie V, baby! He's joining us with his thoughts on what's happened thus far, and after Dickie V, we're going to talk a little bit about LeBron. Are his teammates right to call out Solomon Hill after their collision over the weekend? No AD, no LeBron now for the Lakers. We get into that.
I'll tell you, Stephen A., you hit it on the nail, man. He's saying he's taking after his mother, Julie, in terms of his attitude and personality. I'm only teasing. I love Jim Boeheim. Got a note from him this morning. But I will tell you this. This kid is for real. You know what he reminds me of, Stephen A., Molly, and Max? He reminds me of a guy they said can't play in the NBA. Never could play in the NBA. You know, but Pat Riley said, I'm going to give him a shot. And that's Duncan Robinson. There's no substitute for guys that can stroke the ball, that can make that shot. And when you look at Buddy Boeheim, when he shoots it, I feel there's a chance it's going in. He's been putting up incredible numbers, even in the ACC when he played against Virginia last week. 31. You get 31 against Virginia. Teams don't get 31 on them sometimes. He gets 31. This kid is the legit real deal. He is a star. S-T-A-R. And I can even spell that. I belong in the spelling bee, Stephen A. I can spell star.
Dickie V, one of the great things about doing this show, because I do a radio show in the afternoons, the Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, 2 p.m. Easterns, is I sharpen my takes against Stephen A. Smith over here. But I have Dickie V on right now, and I want to run something past you. Is this the best? Like, considering we're coming off a year of no tournament. We're coming out, hopefully, of a global pandemic. We're starving for sports. And then this happens? This weekend of madness happens? Is this the greatest opening weekend of the tournament, all things considered, ever?
You know, I would have to say yes based on all those factors. And I'll go one step further. And I know Stephen A. is going to scream at me, NBA, NBA. But you know what? I don't care if he screams at me because I'll scream back. This is the greatest sporting event of them all. When it's a one-time shot and the party's over, there's nothing like it. I love the NBA. The NBA's got the greatest athletes in the world, but it's 4 out of 7. You could slip 3 times and you're going to advance if you win the 4. Well, that's not happening in college basketball, man. Just ask Illinois. They're home. 4 out of 7. Maybe they beat, certainly, when you look at Loyola. But you get one shot, and that's the beauty of the game, Max. It is unbelievable what is transpiring. I get excited about it. I'm just excited we got basketball, but now to have it also having these magical moments makes it even better.
Dickie V, I would never scream at you, my man. I would never do that. I would never do that. But I will tell you this. As I'm watching, I was not surprised at all that Illinois got knocked off. I will tell you this. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Baylor. Their athleticism, their ability to finish at the basket, that's impressive to watch. Gonzaga, we're going to continue to see what they do. Michigan, I mean, there's nothing to sneeze at. Right now, when you look at some of these top seeds still playing, who impresses you most?
Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga, I told you last time I was on with you guys that I thought Gonzaga would go 32-0, and I don't change. I really believe that. I think they got 3 dynamite players that, as we talked last time, cover every important part of the floor. Jalen Suggs is the best probably point guard in the nation, according to many. Corey Kispert can shoot the 3 from the wing area. Drew Timme gives them post presence in the lane. They got role players. I love that team. But I agree with you, Stephen A., about Baylor. What I saw in Baylor was reminiscent of when they were 17-0 before they got hit by COVID. When they got hit by COVID, they really went back a while. It took a while to get that rhythm going. And now all of a sudden, they seem to have that. They got the best backcourt in basketball when you look at numbers. You think about certainly Butler, who'll be an NBA player. You think about the kid Mitchell, who can stroke it. You think about Teague. And then you factor in off the bench the kid Flagler, who gives them point production. There's no doubt about it.
Coach, Dickie V, when you look at what's happened in the tournament so far, one of the things that jumps out to me is the Big Ten is 500. The Pac-12 is on fire. Yeah. Like, what are we to make of this? The fact that things are upside down.
Yeah, that's a great point. When you look certainly in the Pac-12, we got Oregon State right now in there, and you look at Oregon State, they were picked preseason last in the conference, yet they won the tournament. Coach Tinkler's done a heck of a job getting an outstanding player, Ethan Thompson, but the Pac-12 has done a fantastic job, and I think there's a reason, and I'm going to share this, and I don't know, it's not factual, it's not technical, it's just my VBDI, Vital Ball Dome Index, saying that I think that during the course of the year, that the Big Ten teams have beaten each other up so much. Every game was physical. Every game was right to the wire, beating one another. I think it took its toll. However, I don't want to take anything away. Loyola Chicago beating Illinois. Let me tell you, Porter Moser and those kids have done a great job. They could crew weak inside, was a dominating player. Illinois as explosive. I believe, I may be wrong, but I think they won 14 of their last 15 games. Everybody was raving about them. I was raving about them. They were terrific, but they could never put a run or a spurt against Loyola. And Loyola Chicago had the magic, had the magic. Sister Jean, name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, praying on a sideline, and they couldn't deal with
And a
our
good defense
prayers
doesn't hurt.
Right? Expecting
Well,
a
yeah,
miracle.
that's-
Dickie V, let me ask you this. When we're talking about the Big Ten teams going against a non-Big Ten team, obviously SEC here, we got Michigan LSU tonight. What can we expect here?
All I'm going to say, Molly, all I'm going to say is, Michigan fans, I would right now go and get my Pepto-Bismol on the side and start chewing on it because it's going to be stressful. It's going to be stressful. By the way, Pepto sent me a bunch of Pepto tablets, but I'm going to tell you this. Hey, when you look at that team, LSU has 3 guys that could possibly play in the NBA. Cameron Thomas, Javonte Smart, and you talk about Watford. Those guys can play. And their support players have really become up. The kid Hyatt's come up big time for them. Will Wade's team is coached well. They understand how to play. I had them against Alabama. This team is legit. However, saying all that, I think the difference maker will be nothing like offensive and defensive efficiency in the 3-second area. I think the difference will be the 7-1 Hunter Dickinson when it gets down to the wire to crunch time.
For me, Dickie V, I watched Oregon State versus Oklahoma State, and I had Oklahoma State going to the Final Four. My other 3 teams are still live, but Oklahoma State obviously bowed out. They've got tremendous athleticism. They can really defend. Their trapping defense was something that, it was special. But again, the erratic play, the erratic shot selection. You always talk about trusting your teammates because you love talking. You love engaging in coach speak to some degree. Trusting your teammates, kicking it to the wide open man instead of shooting contested shots. They didn't do that. I thought Oregon State played smarter. We all know how important that is as the tournament wanes. Who do you find to be the smartest team playing just in terms of shot selection and poise? Who's that team for you as the tournament proceeds?
Well, talk about poise and knowing what you're doing on the floor and really making good decisions. You look right now at Loyola Chicago. I thought their poise was unbelievable. I thought their shot selection was outstanding. I thought they shared the ball really well. I thought they knew when to back it up. The kid Harris, the guard, when not to rush the tempo. All of that factors. But, saying all that, you mentioned also about Oklahoma State. They didn't get an All-American performance out of the superstar who, by the way, in the NBA is going to be even better than he was in college for this reason. And you know the game better than I do, Stephen A. in the NBA.
No, that's not.
Bottom line is he's not going to face double teams, triple teams. He's not going to face all the kind of magical zone defenses. Trying to play him one-on-one, head-to-head at 6'8", the way he handles and he can stroke it, he's going to be a real star at the next level. I want to just thank him for his loyalty to his school, because he could have transferred when they got in sanctions. It was a chance they weren't going to play the tournament, but he stayed there, showed a lot of guts and heart. And I'll tell you this, I want to thank him for the magical moments he gave us thus far for 1 year.
Is the fact that, look, we don't have Duke and Kentucky this year, we have all of these upsets. How much do you ascribe that to the fact that this is a weird year? COVID and the whole thing, and how much of that is just coincidence? We just had this fantastic tournament, and Duke and Kentucky didn't make the cut.
Well, they didn't make the cut, but they get conversation on the popular show, First Take. That's unbelievable. Teams are out to say, why aren't you talking about us? We're in the tournament. I will tell you this about both clubs. They were hurt with the pandemic big time. Young players starting out, they couldn't play those pre-conference cupcakes to get a little familiar with one another. And then they had the factor of they're both great home court environments. You go to Rupp and there's 20,000 people. They're all in blue, most passionate fans. You go down to Cameron Crazy and the Crazies are going wild, chanting and screaming, giving you that adrenaline and that home court advantage. Didn't have that this year. Didn't have that. But I will tell you this. I will tell Molly, I will tell Stephen A., and I tell you Max, I will guarantee you Duke and Kentucky will be back. Those 2 coaches are all about what great leaders are about. They're about not what they've achieved, Hall of Fame status. They're all about getting better for the future.
I appreciate that. I love Coach Cal and I love Coach Krzyzewski. Please don't get me wrong, but the pandemic was not discriminating. It affected everybody. So what should it say to us that those other teams are in the tournament and somehow they had their team ready to roll, but that wasn't the case with 2 of the blue bloods of college basketball? What are we to make of that, Dickie V?
Well, we're going to make very simply what you say is very honest about those other clubs. But Stephen A., they had all young kids who didn't get a chance to get familiar with one another, couldn't do the pre-conference practices that did. The bottom line, it shows that veteran teams have prevailed this year. The veterans have made it, and the veterans absolutely have played a big part. Look at Baylor's lineup. Look at Michigan with Eli Brooks. They had livers, and then they got the 2 transfers who come and played. They didn't have that. They had freshmen, diaper dandies. Kids that were just, the part of the one and done. And they're done.
All right, last thing, Dickie V, and then I'll let you go because I know you got a million hits to do today. But who's on upset alert this evening? Or today, for that matter.
Upset alert. But you guys are tough all the time. Upset alert. Let's go, VBDI. Tell me. My upset alert. Are you kidding me? Ohio and Creighton. Creighton a 5 seed. Ohio a 13. Ohio proved they can play when they won that game against Virginia. The kid Preston had almost close to a triple-double. He had 11, 13, and 8. He can flat out play. And I'm telling you, that club is legit. They almost beat Illinois during the season, lost by 2 to them. They're just legit players. Hey, I asked one question. How many kids you think playing for Abilene Christian who beat Texas, how many at Abilene Christian were offered scholarships to Texas? How many kids you think at Loyola Chicago were offered scholarships to Illinois?
Well, Dickie V.
Think about that.
I will think about it, Dickie V, but you're saying you got Ohio upsetting Creighton. I got news for you. I don't think it is an upset. I think they're just as good, if not better than Creighton. I don't view that as an upset. This kid Preston can ball. He's your point guard. I mean, he's leading the team. I don't think it's an
Stephen
upset.
A. is right again. You're right again, Stephen A. What can I say? The bottom line.
Oh, don't make his head any bigger, Dickie V.
Well,
Ollie,
it's a 5 and a 12. No, I can't make his cash. I can't make his wallet any bigger. My God. Save me some money.
Stop
it.
Hey,
Or his ego.
Oh, come on, Dickie
They can't
V.
afford me.
Oh, my goodness,
Oh, man.
please.
I need some of the cash. Hey, I need
Stephen
a loan.
A. draining us.
I need a loan from you, Dickie V. I need a loan from you.
Oh, my God. You guys are
Love you.
hilarious.
Love you,
You and
buddy.
all your
Love you,
first
my
world
man.
problems.
I love my
You
man.
know it.
I love
My
my
goodness.
guy.
You guys are great.
All right. This was a lot of fun. Dickie V, we're all going to take a page out of Oral Roberts and expect a miracle. I'll leave you with that. Okay, guys, let's head to the NBA. LeBron's teammates were not happy with the Atlanta Hawks. Solomon Hill on Saturday after a second quarter collision with King James resulted in him exiting the game with a high ankle sprain, no set date to return. After receiving criticism from the Lakers players Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder, Hill took to Twitter following the game to defend himself and wish LeBron a speedy recovery, would never disrespect the game and take a player out purposely. He knows that. That's all that matters to me, praying for a speedy recovery. Max, is this fair or foul for Lakers teammates to call out Solomon Hill for LeBron getting injured?
It's foul because as Damian Woody put it the other day, and I forgot the topic already, but he said, and it wasn't on this show, all you have is your last name in this world, really, your reputation.
Oh, it's the Sean Watson topic, yeah.
Right, like what you have really in terms of the person you are is the kind of reputation you build based on your behavior. And if you're telling Solomon Hill he made a dirty play, a non-basketball play, when it wasn't true, and took out physically, who's the biggest star in sports is now injured, it sullies his name. And he's there rightfully, I think, saying, no. Come on, he was going for the ball. You can see he was going for the ball. Now, he may not have been overly concerned about the health of the player he was going for the ball against, but that's not his job. His job is to go get the ball. I did not see a dirty play. I saw a basketball play and a little stumbling that resulted really in a really bad situation for the Lakers. I know the team is upset, but that's no excuse to try to go after a guy's name, to go after a guy's reputation based on something just because you're frustrated that's not true.
I think that's exactly why they did it. So I don't think it's too foul because I think everybody can see it. It's incredibly transparent. Now, if it was a neutral party doing this, to Solomon Hill, that would be a different matter altogether. But the fact that it was the opposition, a team that LeBron James is playing for and has led since he arrived, a team that LeBron James played for this year and only missed one game up to this point. We're not accustomed to seeing LeBron James hurt. It was an aberration 2 years ago when he was out because of his hamstring pull for 17 straight games and ended up missing over 20 when they didn't make the playoffs his first year there. You're not accustomed to seeing that happen with LeBron James and all of that other stuff. So there is a level of deference that people feel that you should have towards King James in a lot of regards. It's very predictable that the Lakers would take this position because their man, their leader, has gone down. It's not an accident that they lost that game to Atlanta and then they got beat up by Phoenix last night where DeAndre Ayton drops 26 and 8. Chris Paul becomes 6th on the all-time assist list, and Devin Booker just quietly drops 26 on
Phoenix is a problem.
shooting. Phoenix is a problem.
Phoenix is a problem.
By the way, exceptional coaching led by Monty Williams and the crew.
8-0 in the bubble.
Exceptional coaching by him and his staff. Let's give them love. The bottom line is that it's not hard to see that the Lakers teammates being without LeBron and seeing him go down like that, they're thinking you don't go after the ball like that with LeBron in the vicinity. Okay, if it was a neutral party, then you overreact. Then you not. I wouldn't call it an overreaction because wait a minute, mind your damn business. You just gonna throw the guy's name out there like that. But considering the fact that he was the opponent, that they had just lost, that it's LeBron that got.
You got to make some. But why did look?
I don't think they're making it dirty. I don't think they're making it up.
You think they see it that way because it's in their interest?
I think they're overly sensitive to anything because they're protective of their leader. That's what I think.
I get it. I just feel like you
and all of us will take it that way.
I just feel like you can say, man, that's one of those things that's
Right.
really, like he was going for the ball,
Right.
But to say that it was a dirty play or a non-basketball play,
Well,
to me,
remember years
you're
ago,
impugning his
That's
reputation.
fair, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, but what I'm saying is I think it's an overreaction. It's a predictable overreaction on their part. And I'll give you an example. Remember years ago when Patrick Beverley hurt Russell Westbrook because he was diving, he was lunging for a loose ball. Now Patrick Beverley plays that way. Russell Westbrook couldn't stand him because of that, because it's like there's certain things you just don't do. And we all felt that way, but Patrick Beverley highlighted, that was not my intent. I just play hard all the time. I was going for the ball. You're Solomon Hill, you're going for the ball. You're not thinking about the fact that it's LeBron. And that's how it goes.
Question. There are fighters, right? We know. Like, I'll even mention him by name. Evander Holyfield or someone like that.
Sure.
He was coming in. He's not exactly headbutting you, right? So you know it.
Yes.
But he is saying, look, my head's going to be there. If your face is that's your problem.
But
is that what Solomon Hill did?
Probably, but here's why I can't compare that. Evander Holyfield had that reputation. You know this better than me, covering boxing exceptionally well as you do. You know that there's a whole bunch of people out there in the sport of boxing that believes Evander Holyfield with that big head of his is good. A matter of fact, why did Tyson, not to excuse Tyson for biting him, but what did Tyson attribute it to? He can't headbutt me. He can't headbutt me. Hey, look, I can't let somebody do that to me. I got kids to raise. You remember when he said that? That's what he said, okay? So what I'm saying to you is that Evander's reputation preceded him. That's not the case
But
with
that's
Solomon
what I'm
Hill.
asking. So you
that's
bring
not
up
the case with Solomon Hill.
You bring up Patrick Beverley. I can see a dude like Patrick Beverley having that Holyfield where he's like, look, I'm diving for you know me. If you're there, that's your problem. I didn't even see that from Solomon Hill. I saw a dude going for the ball.